Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a happy Republic's Day to all the people from India. And myself, Ajit Ganatra, a student coordinator for the upcoming hackathon DotSlash 4.0. And on the behalf of the entire team, I welcome you all. So today we continue with the series of the workshops that we are bringing you by DotSlash 4.0. As you all must be aware that our today's talk will be on the hacker's mindset. Now, as you all know, that hackathons are one of the best places where people come together, innovate, build upon some of the cool ideas, and like bring all those projects to life. But what does it take to perform the best and emerge out as winners in hackathons? What does it take to be a successful team? So, well, to tell you more about that, we have our speaker for today, Angela B. Chen. Angela is currently eco-innovation leader at Schneider Electric, and she's also a co-founder and CEO at Hackathons International, where they help innovators and learners to grow by facilitating them in various aspects of a hackathon. She's also a two-time TEDx speaker. Without taking your much of the time, I will request you, ma'am, to please take over and enlighten with your ideas. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone here. I just want to know, have you been to a hackathon before? So for me, I've been to many hackathons in my lifetime. I started going to my very first hackathons almost 10 years ago, and that was after university, and I was trying to find a job, and it was just so hard to do that. And what I'll talk about during my experience is that a lot of hackathons are so useful in building up your own portfolio. It's useful to get creative and critical skills. And it's really fun because you get to create something out of nothing. You make some really good friends. And I still keep in touch with a lot of the participants that I used to go to hackathons for. So I'd love to get to know all of you a little bit better as well. So if you can answer any questions that I have in the chat, feel free to do so. So my first question is a hackathon before. If you have, put it in the chat. If you haven't, put it in the chat as well, because it's okay. Because what happens a lot of the time with hackathons, especially at university societies, is that a lot of people have never been to a hackathon before. Around 70 to 80% of people have never been to one. And it means that a lot of people are all in the same boat. You're all figuring it out. So for today's session, the whole idea is to introduce you to what hackathons are and some tips on how to manage a winning team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start sharing my screen. So I'm sure hopefully all of you can see my screen. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so before I begin, the secret sauce to managing a winning team is part of what we call a hacker toolkit. So this hacker toolkit is for anyone who has never been to a hackathon, or you want to be successful at participating in a hackathon. These are 5 modules that we go through, and we send out an email to you once a week. And it's basically like, when you go to a hackathon, how do you work together as a team? How do you come up with ideas? How do you create something that's commercially viable and something that you can sell? How do you put basically your strategy, what you've come up with, on one single page? And how do you present it to a judging panel? So if you want to, you can go to hackathonsinternational.com/toolkit, and you can just put in your details and we can send that to you straight away. So it's perfect before your hackathon, so that you get everything at the right place at the right time. So first of all, I just wanted to say, like, the best way to predict the future is for you to create it. Like I mentioned before, I found it so hard finding a job to build my skills, to do something that was useful in this world. And I didn't wait for someone else to hand me a job offer, for someone else to give me something, but I took matters in my own hands, and I decided what was something that I could control. So for me, hackathons are a great way for you to not just talk about what you want to do, but this is an opportunity for you to create what your future looks like. One of the fun facts that I always talk about is that when I organized my first hackathon at Schneider Electric, I involved a lot of people around smart cities, and that was how I got my role as the head of innovation at Schneider Electric. So people saw what I could do. I put it forward. I created a great environment for everyone to put their ideas and to turn it into reality. And for me, I was able to create my own job. And I presented that in front of the executive team, and a role was created for me. So I'm sure with all the roles of the future, whatever you're doing at university, it's something that does not exist now. So why don't you think about what is your best case scenario and to really focus on that to create something that is useful. Today I will talk about what is the hackathon, how to approach hackathons, and then the secret sauce to managing a team. So at my first hackathon, this was a while ago now, I had a great team of people. So on the left-hand side, this was an 11-year-old learning to code. Rachel here, she was a recent graduate who studied design, and I finished university and I actually studied public relations and communications. So I didn't really know anything about the startup ecosystem, entrepreneurship. I didn't even know what UX was. I didn't understand what a developer or a coder was. So for me, everything was very new. But all I knew was that I had an idea that I wanted to pursue and something that would help charity organizations. So I was working at Cancer Council at that time. And I think it's with the existing skills that you have, you should be really confident in what you perceive, what you have, so that you can offer that at some hackathon. So if it's your first hackathon this weekend and you're like, we've got 30 hours, you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is learning together. So I encourage you all to take a plunge at it. So ultimately, a hackathon is a short pressurized process where ideas are designed, developed, deployed, and demonstrated. And we always say that hackathons are about tech. So a lot of people think, it's just coders and developers, and there's always an element of developing something. But for us, we say that hackathons are TECH. So it's around team forming. You're learning about different people, using your skills and your strengths and building upon and collaborating with other people. It's around empathy mapping, so putting yourself into someone else's shoes or to understand what the customers see, think, feel, and do, and their pain points. And then there's that creative and critical thinking process where you come up with a lot of ideas. And then hacking to us is the quick implementation of solutions. So it's really fast. It's testing something out, you're being fast and frugal, and you're creating something out of nothing. So for us, this is what hackathons are. So traditionally, for everyone to work together as a team, it's important to identify who are the people in your team. So that's part of the team formation kind of section. So normally in a hackathon environment, and this is also very similar to the startup environment, you have your minimum viable team. So your hipsters, your hackers, and your hustlers. So I want you to put in the chat, are you a hipster, a hacker, or a hustler? So normally a hipster is a person who designs the user experience. They understand the customer journey and how to ensure that their customers are having light bulb moments and they're having a really good time. The hacker is a person who develops and brings this solution to life, whether they be the technical person, engineer, or a coder, or just someone who's really practical. So that's the hacker. And then the hustler looks at the commercial aspects of it. So can we sell this product? How much will it cost? What is the price? What is the investment required to carry this solution forward? So ultimately, the hacker mindset is all around the approach of how you would go to a hackathon. So when you go to a hackathon, we always say it's for an opportunity for you to learn. So learning means failing to learn by having fun learning. So for example, if you make a mistake, it's okay because hackathons are a great sandbox. You can test ideas, tools, processes, and all that kind of thing. But it's also around like embracing all your failures. And we've also turned this into an acronym. So learning for us is focusing on the why. So what is your vision? What exactly do you want to achieve? Secondly, it's loving what you do. So what is the core reason why you've come to this hackathon, which we'll explain to you later. Next thing is that empathy rules, because if you can put yourself in other people's shoes and you understand the way that they think about things, it's always good to solidify what that pain point is. A is ask curious questions. So don't be afraid to voice your opinions and to understand what is really happening. And then you respond with agility. So be agile. If something is going wrong, I remember at one hackathon, we had an awesome idea. And then what we found out in the middle of it was that all the data was very messy. So we had to go, okay, are we going to clean the data as option one, or are we going to collect new data, or are we going to pivot our idea? So we chose to pivot and we did something completely different, but we still ended up winning the hackathon, which was amazing because we learned from our mistakes. And then the last thing is to network vigorously. I know in this session, you've got a couple of speakers, and it's always good for you to connect with your speakers, your mentors on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on social media, so that you are enriching your network and you've got a great set of people who are following you from an industry perspective. So I really highly encourage all of you to do that, because I've done that myself and that's really landed me where I am now, and it's given me a lot of opportunities as well. So basically, the goal of the hackathon, if you're familiar with design thinking, is around seeing if your idea or your product is desirable, feasible, and viable. So desirable is whether your customer will actually use it, love it, and keep using it. Feasibility is whether your team can actually build it and deliver on your vision. And viability is whether you can sell it and create a sustainable and maybe profitable organization and business as well. So these are the three key things. If you have a mixture of three, generally in a hackathon environment, you will be on the right track. So don't be afraid to ask your organizers what the judging criteria is, what is important, and to ask your mentors if you do have any, to ask them, do you think my customer or target audience will actually like what we're developing? Do they, can we build it up to our best ability, and can we sell it to any customers? So those are the three trifectas. So with the Hacker Toolkit, I did give you the link at the start. There's also a template where you can go through all of this. So you can easily screenshot this. I'm sure this is recorded as well. So you can look back to see an example of how we've done this. So this is just a one-page template for you to organize yourself as a team and how you would project manage and team manage all of everyone, so you know what you need to achieve and what kind of milestones you need to have along the way. Okay, so literally this is broken up into three main phases. So spot, build, and go. Those are the three things. Spot means story, and then so we'll go through each one of these and then I'll show you what that means from a holistic standpoint. So the first thing is identifying that story that you want to tell. Whenever you go to a hackathon, everyone's there for a purpose and a reason. So it's really important for you to understand what your personal story is, what kind of light bulb moments you have, and how you've reacted. So let me give you an example. So in my experience talking with my grandma, I found out that she was really afraid of going outside of her apartment because of COVID that was happening. She was really afraid that she was going to catch COVID, and she wasn't sure about her immune system and how her body would react. So now I want to ensure that everyone who is a senior citizen, that they feel comfortable at home and they get access to whatever need that they need. So that's why I'm at the hackathon. So here you can tell that it's something that you can relate to. And what I found out is that, like, I run all these winner spotlight interviews for hackathons. So a lot of winners, I would interview them and I would understand how they got to their idea. And a lot of it comes out from personal experience. Like, it's like, oh, my auntie is a healthcare worker, or my cousin faced this challenge when he was going through a COVID test. So it's really important just to be observant around your surroundings and to see whether or not there are pain points that are needing to be solved. The next thing in P is basically understanding like the people in your team. So when you're going around getting to know everyone, it's important to take at least 10 minutes so that you get to know one another. A lot of the time at hackathons, it's so easy to come up with a solution and you're like, okay, what do we need to do next? Let's just get going. But if you just spend 10 minutes getting to know everyone around you, it just makes it such much more of an enriching experience. So for example, like when I used to go to hackathons, I used it as an opportunity to upskill myself because I didn't know much about front-end development or back-end development. I didn't know anything about starting up a business because I'd never done that before. So I just really wanted to use that as an upskilling opportunity for me to learn about some business and technical skills. And eventually, as I got to know a lot of people going to a lot of hackathons, I probably went to around 30 hackathons over 3 years, just participating because I was so in love with them and I caught the hackathon bug. So I used it as a way to network with other people and find other people who were also on the same pathway as me. So I ended up, everyone always wants to win at a good hackathon. So that was one of my purposes, and to also get experience because I was finding it hard to find a full-time job. In fact, after I started to participate in all these hackathons, I had people ringing me and wanting me to work at their companies because of the portfolio that I had put together. The next thing here is passion. So what do you want to work on? And we touched on this with the story before. And this passion is like, what is your calling? What do you think your purpose, what your passions are? So is that to help senior citizens? Is it to help make life easier for people? So try and figure it out. If you don't know what your passion is yet, it's okay. Hackathons are a great way for you to just test things out and to learn about different industries and different ways of doing things. And that for me took so long. It took at least 5 years for me to actually say, okay, I'm actually passionate about hackathons and bringing people together. The third thing here is participation. So I know some people might be working casually. People might have children, or they also value their family. So it's always good to know how much time everyone can commit to. And then also your personal development. So I think one thing that a lot of people miss out is that when you become a leader and a people manager, so you manage a team, it's always good to say, well, how can we challenge you and how can we grow you in our in the best way that we can. And I do this with my team because I want to look out for them, and also I know every experience is a learning curve. So for me, when I go to hackathons, I would love to learn about machine learning. Initially at the start, I was really bad at presenting. I'd never presented many presentations before. So that was one of my kind of learning things. And then mixed reality, that was such a different thing for me. Normally we design on Canva on 2D, but doing that 3D dimension was something that I personally was like, whoa, like there's something in there. So always think about these 4 Ps and to get to know your peers. Now the O stands for the opportunity statement. So an opportunity is, all right, what do we think is out there? What is, the sky's the limit. Rockets can do anything. So what is your vision? What does your future look like? And it's when I studied journalism, one of the things that one of my lecturers told me was that you had to, if you can communicate your idea or your key message within 140 characters or less, then you can communicate anything in a simple way. And I would suggest you to include the who, what, where, when, how, and why. So for example, the opportunity is that right now during COVID, people over 60 are finding it so hard to just get the basics that they need in their shop from the shops. And so our vision is so that everyone, all senior citizens, feel comfortable at home. So think about this. I love this. I use Twitter simply to ensure that I can communicate something within 140 characters or less, or I try to explain it to my brother. And if he gets it, then I'm on the right track. But if he doesn't get it, then I go, okay, maybe I need to make it more simple so that when I'm presenting this to the judges, they can understand me completely. And T stands for testing. So whenever we come up, well, at least with my teams, when I do hackathons, when we have that opportunity statement, I just tell everyone to stop doing what you're doing for 15 minutes and just go on Google, see what's out there, who are our competitors, what has been done before, what hasn't been done before, what is our unique value proposition, and what are the assumptions that we need to test. So for example, if our vision was that everyone who is a senior citizen, they feel comfortable at home, there are a couple of assumptions here. So I've put 2 examples. Firstly, the majority of the elderly get coronavirus. So that was a big assumption that we had. But the data when we looked into Google was that early findings from China revealed that the median age was 75. And another study from England found that the median age was actually 59. So you can easily assume that, yes, it's true that the majority of the elderly can get coronavirus because it's stated in the facts there. The second assumption that I put here is that there is not enough food for Australians. I know that when the COVID-19 first hit us, there was everything was off the shelf, no flour, no pasta, no nothing. But what we found out from the National Farmers Federation was that imported food only accounted for 15% of daily supply. About 2/3 of Australia's produce is exported, meaning we make plenty more than we actually consume. And for farmers, it's pretty much business as usual. So maybe there was something in the supply chain, getting the food from our farmers to our homes. There was something to innovate in that space. So that's how we said, okay, this is a false assumption, but what could we do to pivot our idea to ensure that it would be a success? Now, the second phase here is build. So building is just setting your milestones and your metrics. Having this in mind is just really, for me, if I have okay, this is due by Sunday at, 5 p.m., then I have a kind of a timer at the back of my head and I know what I need to do to achieve my goals. So if I just say, okay, goal, what do you want to develop in the hackathon? Is it a service delivery application? Or, is it a payment, a payment system, or is it something to do with logistics? So identify what exactly you want to achieve in the hackathon, because it can only be one piece of the pie. Secondly, put in your pitch date and time, how you will communicate with one another, the criteria that you'll be assessed with, because normally as a judge, so I've been a judge at many hackathons, I look at the criteria and I mark each criteria out of 5 or 10. So that's how I would how I would score everyone. So it's also good for you to understand who your judges are and to see what you'll be marked on. So when you talk with one another, always I've got the 3-dimensional kind of approach here that I made up. So firstly, discuss what you've done over the last time period. Secondly, think about what you need to achieve in the long run and agree on, okay, is there something that we need to be doing that's better? And then the third thing is the direction. So what do you need to start, stop, and restart? You might have done something over the past 2 hours and you're like, well, it doesn't really help with the vision or what we want to achieve with our goal during the hackathon. So you might need to just refresh your like what you've been doing. And I found that if I go for a walk and get some fresh air, it's always good to just get into a different mindset and to just reset your thinking. So this is my typical timeline for a hackathon. So firstly, you nominate a herder. A herder is someone who is more like the, you could say the manager, and that person is not the leader, is not the CEO, but make sure that everyone is on track. So kind of like a project manager. So here I've got all the minimum viable kind of team roles. So the hustler, hipster, and hacker, and they each have different tasks during the hackathon, and in the end you'll create something that will work well with one another. Normally I tell everyone to catch up with each other around like every 3 hours in the day, and that's just to check in with one another, make sure we're all on track, and to really see how everyone's going. So the hustler traditionally, and normally at the start, you rock up, join a team, and then complete the first part of the hacker mindset, so the spot side. And then everyone kind of conceptualizes the idea, does the research, see what the potential of the technology is, agree on that final problem statement, and then that minimum awesome product, so that thing that you're going to build during the hackathon. And then generally the hustler looks into developing the video, the business model. The hipster looks into doing the wireframe, the front end development and the interface, and then linking that with the APIs and the features. So working together as a team is really important during a hackathon. So the last thing here is to go. So go means growth and optimize. So once you've got something, always ask yourself, who is your customer? What is the content that you're going to show them so that they understand the value that you provide? What are the channels? So whether that be through social media, online, different forums, how will people learn about what you've created? And what is the call to action? So if someone is really interested in your product, what are you going to tell them so that they will be using something that you've done? And then O stands for optimize. So optimize is all around understanding what you've created and how you'll better add on and update what you've done. So normally when we talk about innovation, especially in the corporate sense, like I work at Schneider, or maybe an example might be, say, Disney. So Disney, their core business is making films. So you've got Aladdin and Winnie the Pooh and all of that kind of thing. So they're always continuously updating Lion King, Mulan, and all those films. So that's what they do as their core business. Now, their growth markets might be the musicals that they have, or the Disneyland, for example, and that's to attract different customers and different people, because traditionally it's a lot of kids who consume a lot of the movies. So how about parents, the grandparents? How do we get everyone involved? And then disruptive business is, what is the new thing that hasn't been done before? And if we think about Disney, that would be Disney Plus, because normally when we go to a movie, we pay $20 to go see a film, but now you pay a subscription model so that you've got access to everything from Disney, and that's the new way of doing things. So that is what we mean by optimize here, and also the different types of innovation that you might consider. So in summary, just remember, hackathons are for everyone to attend. So I'm so glad that everyone here is excited to be part of Hack.Slash. It'll be a fantastic event for everyone to go through. Be ready to flirt. So flirting means failing to learn whilst having fun learning. So remember, this is just a sandbox, a safe environment for you to test things out. And the last thing is to spot an opportunity, build the solution, and go. So if you want the Hacker Toolkit, don't forget to go on our website, hackathonsinternational.com/toolkit, and you'll get access to all these different modules. You can always follow us and join our Facebook group called Hackathons International, and that's where a lot of people from around the world have are talking and socializing with one another. If you, and then, yeah, my last and departing words are to ride the wave, catch the wave, and make waves, because the future is in your hands. So if you want to contact me, please follow us on Twitter, HackInt, or visit our website. And this is my email if you have any questions and want to contact me. So that's it from me. I'm now going to hand it back over to all of you and stop sharing my screen. And hopefully all of you have learned something